I see it just like you. Everywhere you look, Epstein files, Epstein files, Epstein files, everywhere you go. And you really don't know how to make sense of it all, but I'm going to help you. Let's start with the first question. Why are there so many names that you recognize being mentioned in the Epstein files? Let's answer that very simply. In 2019, following the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein under the Trump administration, by the way, there were 3 information hotlines that were created by the FBI and the DOJ. One was 1-800-CALL-FBI. That was for any information people had regarding the Epstein situation. The other, created by the DOJ, was the Victims Notification System, 1-800-DOJ for you. And the third was a whistleblower tip line at 202-924-2065. The biggest problem with these tip lines was that they became prank lines. Once people got wind that there were government agencies that opened up hotlines in the search of information related to Jeffrey Epstein, people went crazy. They literally started calling in saying that they had tips about everyone you could think of and them having some type of involvement with the situation that was unfolding concerning Epstein Island. Celebrities, sports players, just anyone you could think of, any name that was common or was a household name, people were calling, making up stories about those people being involved with Epstein. But when the FBI and DOJ would respond back to these people, they would basically either say, oh yeah, I'm gonna give you more information next week, or they just wouldn't answer the phone, or they would just make up all types of excuses. Some people were literally like, hey man, I just heard something from someone, because ultimately, if you abuse these lines, you risk spending time in federal prison. So people would prank the line. When the DOJ would get back to them, they would literally just make up any reason why they couldn't follow up with the information that they had. Many of the people were deemed to be mentally unstable. So these tip lines just got totally abused. Now, how much information was released? Well, the DOJ did a massive information dump where they released over 3.5 million documents or pages. They released over 180,000 images and over 2,000 videos regarding the Epstein situation. So when you see that people like Donald Trump are mentioned, and they say, well, they're mentioned in the Epstein files a bunch of times. Well, you have to understand that in any context, if your name was mentioned, it was counted as being mentioned in the Epstein files a certain number of times. The FBI made it very clear that just because someone's name is mentioned, that doesn't mean that that person is guilty of doing anything. They could be talking about how a media outlet mentioned Jeffrey Epstein and then mentioned Trump, or even mentioned Jeffrey Epstein and mentioned Bill Gates or someone like that. It just has logged every person who was involved with Epstein for the last couple of decades. So when they're telling you all these names, that doesn't mean these people have done anything wrong. That just means they were mentioned in the files and or on that tip line. I mean, if you go look at it, there's some pretty astronomical, like ridiculous, right? Ridiculous people mentioned in this situation. So here's the biggest issue that caught my attention. It was concluded in the Epstein files that Jeffrey Epstein colluded with journalists in an attempt to defeat Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election. So it says, recent documents released from the Department of Justice and the U.S. House Committees on Oversight and Accountability have revealed communications between Jeffrey Epstein and certain media figures that have sparked claims of political targeting against Donald Trump. Michael Wolff is one of these people. He's a journalist. Author Michael Wolff exchanged emails with Epstein before the 2016 election. In a February 2016 message, Wolff reportedly called Epstein the Trump bullet, suggesting that the information from Epstein could potentially derail Trump's campaign. Wolff has since stated he was pressuring Epstein to disclose what he knew about Trump as a source. Then there were targeting claims. Representative James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, has alleged that these files show that a journalist coached Epstein to blackmail Donald Trump during the 2016 campaign. Comer described the coordination as part of a Democrat House majority effort.
President Trump is taking aim at writer Michael Wolff following the latest Epstein files documents dump from the DOJ. The president did accuse Wolff of conspiring with Epstein to try to destroy his political career. Wolff does appear in the documents that were published last November, and he appeared to be acting as Epstein's unofficial advisor and publisher ahead of the 2016 election, even went so far as to call Epstein the, quote, bullet that could end Trump's 2016 bid. Trump addressed Wolff's alleged conspiracy on Air Force One over the weekend, even indicating the latest document dump proves he did nothing wrong. Take a listen.
It looked like this guy Wolff, who's a writer, was conspiring with Epstein to do harm to me. And I didn't see it myself, but I was told by some very important people that not only does it absolve me, it's the opposite of what people were hoping, you know, the radical left. That Wolff, who's a third-rate writer, was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to hurt me, politically or otherwise, and that came through loud and clear. So we'll probably sue Wolff.
So upon releasing a large batch of documents in December 2025, the DOJ issued a rare statement noting that some files contained untrue and sensationalist claims against Trump, submitted to the FBI just before the 2020 election. The department explicitly called these specific claims unfounded and false. So there you have it. For me, that's pretty much all I needed to see or read to know that this was a targeted effort by journalists, right? We understand. Remember, Donald Trump has received over 95% negative press in both of his presidential runs that carried over into his presidency. So it is no surprise that there were journalists who were constantly attempting to dig up dirt and get people to basically make up lies about Donald Trump that they thought, though they were untrue, would be enough to turn people against Trump as far as voting for him to be president of the United States. So it adds up for me in my mind, but there's some people who, no matter how much evidence you give them, they only consider the evidence that supports what they want to believe. That's called confirmation bias, and it's under the umbrella of the cognitive biases, right? Do your research on that one. But the bigger thing for me in this whole situation is the very common sense questions that the people who continuously keep bringing up the Epstein files are not asking. One, the outlandish nature of the claims of what people saw. People are talking about they saw babies being dismembered, all types of crazy, outlandish stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, that sounds like something a person who's not right in the head would say. Because if this was happening to these babies, where are the parents? In what way would Epstein or any of these rich guys benefit from just bringing a bunch of babies to the island and just dismembering them? Also, number two is the Democrat Party is totally fine with the annihilation of babies as long as they're in the womb. And in some places, they're okay with annihilating or destroying babies when they come out of the womb. So all of a sudden, they're bleeding hearts for these quote unquote dismembered babies that were on Epstein Island. Another thing is this. Well, if Epstein had damning evidence against Trump or proof that Trump was ever on Epstein Island and he wanted to defeat Trump in the presidential election, why didn't Epstein simply just release the information he had? Why didn't Epstein just go on the record like Trump was on the island, Trump was doing this to this, he was doing this to this person, that person, that person. I have proof, I have video, or you can go talk to those people and they'll tell you. Well, he never did that, but he was working with journalists to make Trump lose the presidential election. He clearly wasn't working very hard, because if he had that kind of damning evidence, it would have been easy work to get rid of Trump in 2016. And then for the journalists, it would have been easy work to get rid of Trump in 2020. Another thing is that you have these high profile people like Bill Clinton mentioned in the Epstein files. You have people like Bill Gates mentioned in the Epstein files. Well, all these people, if they were going to Epstein Island, undoubtedly they knew that Trump was a frequenter of the island, right? He frequented the island, right? Last I checked, Bill Clinton is a Democrat who went out and stumped for his wife Hillary, who was defeated by Trump in 2016. Do you believe that if Bill Clinton had information about Donald Trump being on Epstein Island, he would not have leaked that information to a journalist so they could take it and throw it on into the mainstream media and destroy Trump's campaign? Yeah, Trump was never there. He holds to that statement, or to that claim. He was never there. Then on top of that, you have Bill Gates. He's no fan of Donald Trump. So if Bill Gates knew that Trump was a person who frequented the island, why wouldn't he leak the information to destroy Trump's campaign? Bill Gates is a staunch Democrat. Bill Gates has real power within the Democrat Party to affect the direction that that party goes in. He wants the Democrats to win. He's went out and stumped for Hillary. He's went out and stumped for Joe. Why wouldn't he release the information or leak the information if he was a frequenter of the island and knew that Trump was frequenting the island? Now, me, I'd want to believe that Bill Clinton was on Epstein Island. I want to believe that. Bill Clinton is on call logs. This is a fact. On flight logs. This is a fact. I want to believe that Bill Gates was on Epstein Island. But if someone has done something, I'm like everyone else. I have to wait for the information and evidence to come out. And then when that comes out, then it goes to a court of law. And based on what they find in a court of law, that's what I can hang my hat on as to what actually happened. That hasn't taken place yet. So I will hold my judgments and my opinions about Bill Gates and Bill Clinton. This reminds me of a situation that just unfolded recently, where the public had a certain opinion about the actions of a certain big major figure. And then when that person went to jail or went to trial, it turned out that that person hadn't done nearly even a small percentage of the things that the public believed for decades that this person had done. And that person was Diddy. Now, Diddy is an evil guy. He's an abuser, a very violent abuser and drug addict. But when it came down time to convict Diddy, he was found guilty of a certain set of things, which had nothing to do with the things that he had been accused of doing by the peanut gallery or the public for decades. So there's a very real chance that the public can believe that someone has done something for an extended amount of time, and then when the truth is revealed, it will expose that that person never did any of those things. Happens all the time in court. Do not submit your brain to the court of public opinion. Use your brain to research the facts or identify the facts based on the evidence, and then be patient and watch how everything plays out. Now, on the internet, we have some internet detectives who are pretty damn good. They've been coming up big in a lot of situations that have been in the media lately. But understand, we also have people who are so thirsty for their conspiracies and their beliefs to be proven correct, they will embellish, they will sensationalize, they will try to send you into a state of hysteria so that they can get a click, a like, or a view. Do not let those people rule your mind. Let me know what you think about this. Did I give a good explanation? Is it something you feel you can hang your hat on? Let me know in the comments. Until the next time, take care of yourselves, but most importantly, please take care of each other. Thank you for everything you do for me and this channel. Peace.